Hello, today is the 10th of August, 2024. As always, we'll begin with our disclaimer, go over our calls, and make some predictions. This is my trading plan for Monday, which is August the 12th. For the next week, and maybe a little bit after that, I won't be doing any trading or risking my own money because I have personal business. By the middle of next week, I hope to be back to my usual schedule. So remember, my calls can be wrong. Any trade you make should be made at your own risk. Friday, we looked for the pattern with the early low, which is this. Monday should also have the early low. We had a target which didn't print. That's 52.92.30. It's no fun when these things don't print when they're supposed to, but eventually that should print, so we'll add that to the list. Let's not forget we have this wall with gap pattern. It's unstable. At some point, we're going to fill this gap, undercut this low, and find support there. Doesn't mean we can't go higher first, but that's about 150 handles under where we are now. This was Friday's action. MEJT identified a few moves that are called false, said they wouldn't stick. They've already retraced. So that's not going to tell us anything about Monday. This is the weekly DeMark count, which called the top. This is the TDST line. There was good support right at that line, kind of an amazing thing, but that line's at 51.27 and change. Right there. So that's over 200 handles under where we are now. And even though this support should hold if it's challenged, that's quite a ways down. Well, let's go over the longer term picture to get some clue as to what's going to happen. We've completed a huge ABC in green. Took a generation to form, and we should now be forming a new pattern which will probably last a generation too. Now I was hoping to see a 5-wave structure with a huge rally. We certainly started out with that, but this is just too difficult to me to count as 5 waves, not maybe on the weekly chart, but on the daily chart. And so I'm calling this wave A, and we're in wave B, and B waves can go anywhere. And when that B wave is completed, I think we'll be in wave C, which doesn't have to go over wave A, but most likely will. Let's take a look at what's happened since this top, which we're calling blue A. We had this ABC. We dropped to this line. Since then, we've formed a rising wedge. Here's the rally. Here's the volume drop. It's a typical rising wedge pattern. It should stop at some point, and when it stops, there should be a sizable drop. So we have to look at candidates for this wedge to be over. Well, so far, we had this ABC down, which we call. If you call this wave A and this wave B, C is equal to A. We'll just look at this here. That's A, that's B, and C is equal to A. So that certainly is a plausible place for this to end. Now, I was hoping it would end at one of these lines, but this is actually a 50% retrace of wave green C, so it's valid. So this is a candidate for the rally to end, and if we go past it, then that's the wrong idea. So let's just look at this wave blue C. Well, if that's B, you can count C as A, B, and then A, B, C, D, E with these overlapping waves. That would be an ending. ending diagonal triangle, and if that's the right count, then we should be in wave C. If it's not, then we should be in wave C. Well, let's take a look at what's happened since this top, which we're calling blue A. We had this ABC in green. Took a generation to form, and we should now be forming a new pattern. we're going to have a drop back down to the origin of the triangle, which is here. But don't forget, we have to fill this gap at some point too. So if that's the right count, and I'm not claiming it's the only count, but if that's the right count, we shouldn't go too much higher. If we go higher at all, then have a sizable drop. And of course, if we keep going up on Monday, that's not the right idea. But if you're long here, it certainly is cause for concern. We won't know until Monday if that counts right, but if we start down on Monday, I don't think I'd stick around the long side for any significant period of time. These are the patterns I'm looking for next week. Now, Monday's pattern has a yearly low, which doesn't tell us where we open, and typically it's a rally day with a high in the fine lower. But if it's weak, and that's what I think might be happening, we should see more weakness. The market's forming a rising wedge, which is a negative formation, a bearish formation. We should break lower at some time. Now, it's possible to count the rally as being complete or near complete on Friday. I mean, if we go up slightly and then drop, it doesn't change the count. So if, in capitals, if Monday shows weakness early, that count gains credibility and implies a sizable drop is beginning. If we rally strongly instead, then it's that there's some other count. I mean, just because you can count it one way doesn't mean it's the only way to count. Right now, this is a candidate for a top. We have to see what happens Monday. The pattern for Monday is usually a strong pattern, but if we start with early weakness in particular, I think we could have a sizable drop and hit this 52.92.30 target, even drop here under 5,200. Not in the day necessarily, but on the leg. I don't think it's an unreasonable interpretation. We'll have to see what happens Monday with the pattern with the early low, but this is a candidate for the rally ending. And that's today's call.